traffic working near the Civic Center, 101 southbound. The right-hand lane shut down for repairs from North Broadway Street to Los Angeles Street. This project goes until 2 p.m. today.
Antibodies Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over
When the Rams head to Chicago for their playoff game Sunday against the Bears, they're going to need some extra long johns and whatever else it takes to keep warm. The Rams might have to start a small bonfire on the sidelines. By the time the game kicks off at 5:30 Chicago time, it'll be 19 degrees with a wind chill factor of 5 above. Both of those numbers are expected to drop throughout the game. The Rams are a 4.5-point favorite, but the weather could change those odds. If the Rams beat the Bears and the 49ers beat Seattle tomorrow, the Rams would be home next Sunday for the NFC Championship. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix, out of bounds and prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, oh, come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's the 97th birthday period of Martin Luther King Jr., and we are discussing today and through this period, certainly through the holiday recognized by the federal government on Monday, the life, the mission, the ministry of Martin Luther King Jr., and what its impact has and what does it say about our time. We began our conversation at the beginning of the week with none other than Terry Hord Owens. We touched upon some of these issues on Tenacious Tuesdays with Barbara Arnwine and Liz King. Reverend Todd Uri joined us along with Atiba in conversation yesterday on Wealthy Wednesdays, and on Thought-Provoking Thursdays, P.L. De Silva, as well as his very special guest, along with Johnny Mack, explored the global implications of what 39-year-old Martin Luther King Jr., at the hour of his assassination, 39 years old, had to share with the world. In this hour, we're going to take a hard look, a deep dive into the letter from a Birmingham jail because of its historical significance, its implications, some of its origins, and why Dr. King's thinking was so prolific. I'm particularly honored that our very special guest in this hour is none other than John Diggles. John Diggles is a health care professional, and over the course of our show, I will give you more and more about his biography. And of course, activist, thinker, political commentator, former executive in outdoor advertising, John Lesiotis, will also be joining us in this hour. Both have been apprised of the subject matter and are well aware of the fact that Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail was a turning point in Christian theological praxis. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Jesse, it's good to see you. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for having us.
Now, this is Fat Meat Fridays, so I don't want anyone to think for one moment that we don't have an additional contributor who is absolutely with us. She is the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I'm so grateful to call her my very close, dear, and best friend. The work that she does on this show is extraordinary. In fact, there are other radio shows and radio stations around the country that watch our show very carefully, and they are following the leadership that Gina Towns has established for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show as really a breakthrough moment in media communications. So much of what was once AM and FM has now moved over to the app that is we are listened to in London, in Johannesburg, South Africa, Frankfurt, Germany, and other parts of the world. And that's in no small measure because the times are changing, but so is the technology. More people probably listen to our program on the app than they actually do on terrestrial radio. This simply wouldn't be possible because I simply gave no thought to it without the leadership, the thinking of Gina Towns. She felt that we needed a platform that was broad enough to share ideas across a broad global spectrum, and here we are. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You know what, Jesse? I almost forgot it was that Big Friday. I was so happy to have John and John.
Hey, Gina, let me ask you this question. Why the letter from a Birmingham jail?
Well, before I go there, if you don't mind the liberty, because you said a lot right there, so thank you. But we have to give homage and credit to the 40-year veteran that is Tavis Smiley, and his tutelage and his mentorship in this venture, especially for me. And I will not speak for you, but to allow us to grow on this platform and imitate what he does as best we can and try to sprout off.
I appreciate that. If I get to Capitol Hill, there are no guarantees. This is an American election. If I get there, it is my intention to take the show with us. And I plan to literally usher from Dominique DePrima through Tavis's show, through Nick Cordelai-Corte, as many of my colleagues to frequent KBLA as a primary vehicle by which we share what's taking place in Washington, praying daily that Democrats regain control. But if we don't regain control, that is, the resistance movement does not gain control of the Congress, certainly Democrats will have a lot to say about the future of this nation, given the extraordinary times that we find ourselves in. And so this show and this platform is a significant part of why I wanted to do this in the first place. The idea of going to Congress, Gina, with a radio show, plugging people directly into their members of Congress and senators and discussing in real time what the hell is going on in this country. I think that matters to the success.
It matters, Jesse, and you're really good at it. The fact that you can bring voices and give a platform and have an honest, open discussion with your audience nationally, you're really, really good at it. We're grateful for you.
I appreciate that, Gina.
Cool. So on the letter from Birmingham jail, that was John Lesiotis. When we began to talk about Martin Luther King and that I wanted to continue on from yesterday in the celebration, I think there's a lot of reflection that we need to do. I think there should be a lot of reading going on over the weekend of the various materials that are available to us to really glean from Martin Luther King's heart and his mind for justice. And so John suggested that he wanted to look at the letter from the Birmingham jail. And so in the next segment, I have a clip for us to do a little listening, and then we'll do a little discussion.
Knowing that our break is coming up soon, John, I want to thank you for bringing our attention once again.
You're welcome.
To the matters of Birmingham. Looking forward to that discussion when we come to KBLA Talk 1580. And before we begin with Gina's clip in the next segment, I'm going to probe Mr. Lesiotis' thinking. Why the letter from a Birmingham jail? Why did that stand out for him then? Why should we be reflective upon it now? And what are some of its consequences? Gina will then come back forward with a clip of Dr. King regarding the letter from a Birmingham jail, and then we will begin a robust conversation. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is the 97th birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., born on January 5th, a holiday period celebrated on the third Monday of the month of January by virtue of Congress and the signature of the President of the United States. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Refresh your bathroom with big savings at Lowe's. Reimagine your bathroom with up to 40% off select faucets during our Bath Savings event. Need it today? Order by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Shop for your bathroom refresh at Lowe's. We help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Same-day delivery on eligible in-stock items, subject to availability. Fees vary. Visit Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for full terms.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Fridays with Gina Towns on the Junior Show, our regular contributor, John Lesiotis. Part of our Let's Talk About It series, political activist, analyst, and every second Tuesday of the month, guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show series, Let's Talk About It. John Lesiotis puts real talk in the middle of the floor about the ways Republicans view Democrats and vice versa. The ways Democrats view Republicans in a dialogue filled with messaging and messenger truths. John Lesiotis, welcome forward to the program. I'll give the appropriate introduction of John Diggles in just a moment, but why don't we get started? John,
thank you, Jesse.
Letter from
Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you, John.
The letters are of great interest to me, Jesse, because I think they really speak to the times, what's going on in America right now. And what first drew me to the letters is when I found out that he wrote those letters to a number of white religious leaders in America that were urging King to slow down and to wait for the courts to take action. And King wrote a rather lengthy letter explaining that he had been waiting a long time and the courts hadn't acted. And more importantly, that people have a moral responsibility to break unjust laws.
Mm.
And he was tired of waiting for, quite frankly, the moderate white to step up and to do something. He had known that he wasn't going to get the support of the right wing of the Ku Klux Klan. He knew he had the support of the white liberals, but it was the white moderate that was really standing in the way of progress. And I look at what's happening across America right now, and I kind of see something similar, where we've got the moderates that are kind of standing off to the side, just watching what's going on. Certainly for the last election, they stood on the sidelines. 30% of America at least didn't come out to vote. And so it kind of resonates with me, the letters, because it speaks to what's happening today.
John Diggles is and serves as CEO and founder of Ascent Strategy, providing services in digital transformation, corporate storytelling, employer brand strategy, marketing of clinical research, and ROI measurement. The agency's IP uses proprietary communications algorithms, combining online community insights with medical professional perspectives, patient observations, and market data to promote adoption of telemedicine, remote patient monitoring, and healthcare artificial intelligence, among other offerings. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's good to be with you. It's good to be with you for Fat Meat Friday. This is awesome.
Right now.
Hey, John, an insightful observation by John Lesiotis about the white moderate. John?
It always stood out to me, the letter from Birmingham jail, about the clarity that Reverend King had sitting in there. Think of it, in that setting, he was able to put these words forth. And that was his thoughts about how he needed to engage the country. I think John hit it right on the head. When politics becomes so hot and sides dig in, you have your far left, far right sides dig in. So much of the middle seems to tune out sometimes. And I think that was Reverend King's, is that the struggle has to be won. You have to help us get this. We need your voice. We need your attention to this. And I feel that way about a lot of things, including healthcare and health inequity. Reverend King said something that also changed my life. He said that injustice in healthcare is one of the most severe forms of inequality. It's why I started this company and why we do what we do, because the only way to bridge, to address those inequities, is to think differently, be involved, and look to new solutions.
Gina, you're a Princeton Theological Seminary graduate. Congratulations on recently receiving your Master's of Arts in Theology. Gina, you brought the heavyweights to the show today with a very, very heavy topic, the letter from a Birmingham jail.
Well, I want to go to the clip, but I also want to tell our listeners who are not able to see us that John and John are white. And so I love to have this conversation, because
Jesse,
conversations we need to be having across the aisles at church.
Gina, I thought they were born.
The aisles in the grocery store, across the aisles.
Gina, these are two wild and crazy guys that I thought were born black guys, poured down deep in Alabama.
I love this because, our Monday host in the first hour, Mr. Krim, and Mr. Krim's class always talks about the fact that we cannot ignore that there are people who are open to all subject matters, and it takes all of us. It takes the entire village, the people down the street and around the corner, to raise this child called America. And so with that, Jesse, if you're okay, let's go ahead and
let's go to the clip.
Go to the clip.
Dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that cross my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. I think I should indicate why I am here in Birmingham, since you have been influenced by the view which argues against outsiders coming in. I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South, and one of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Frequently, we share staff, educational and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliates here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent, direct action program if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited here. I am here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century BC left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns. And just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. That was Senator Raphael Warnock, Reverend Senator Raphael Warnock, the pastor, and to a significant degree in terms of the ministry of Martin Luther King Jr., the pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, who happens to serve in the United States Senate from Georgia, a church that Martin Luther King Jr. was pastor of. And so the historical significance of that pastor being able to read that speech on the floor of the United States Senate is as remarkable as the idea of writing the speech in the first place. Gina, I want to allow you an opportunity to engage with Mr. Lesiotis and Mr. Diggles on the target of this speech, white evangelical clergymen who are questioning the theological tradition of Dr. King and the freedom movement.
Well, thanks, Jesse. I mean, it was pretty self-explanatory, and you're right, Reverend Warnock, reading that, being a member of the clergy and a member of the Senate, Reverend Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock, addressing the question in that part of the letter where people are questioning him and trying to keep us in boxes and keeping civil rights and injustice in a certain place, and retaining things that quote unquote belong in this political box or this biblical box, if you will, and this idea of church and state being separate, except for our morality and our level of justice towards one another, is inextricably tied to the law. So when you think about that and you hear that, and I know that both of you are engaging with conversations on the golf course. Well, we're not golfing right now, but I know John, that just comes to mind all the time with John, engaging in these conversations with your friends who likely don't listen to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, who may not be familiar with
look at what they're missing.
The letter from Birmingham or any of King's speeches for that matter. You know, how do you relate the idea that King was addressing in that letter and the responsibility that we have?
Boy, that's a tough one, because most of the times when you bring up, because another thing I loved about the letters from Birmingham jail is the quote you ended the tape with, that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I think that's really pertinent now. And I bring it up to my friends because a couple of them happen to be Jewish who live up here in the North Shore. And, we talked a little bit about what's going on with Gaza. And I explained to them that there's somewhat of a relationship on us turning our blind eye to what's going on in Gaza and what's happening in our country, because that's an injustice over there. And we should be almost as concerned, if not more concerned about it because of the genocide there than we are what's going on at home. But yet we kind of detach ourselves from it. And we pretend, because most of us live in a pretty comfortable environment, we're not threatened with job insecurity necessarily or food insecurity. Our neighborhoods are relatively safe. So in our little world, despite what's going on around us, things aren't all that awful. So I think a lot of people just get into that comfort zone and turn a blind eye to what's going on around them.
John Diggles, John, you are seminary trained. You understand directly the target audience. Of course, John Lesiotis does as well, but you understand, like John does, the target audience to which Dr. King was addressing this profound moral treatise. Your thoughts, John?
And that is the power. The first time I read the letter, I understood where he was coming from. You almost see Dr. King. I mean, I'm in communications, right? You have to write to your audience. He's masterful at it. And I think, one of my favorite things about the way to celebrate his day and this time of year is to take quotes and parts of that letter and put them on social media to remind you see the power of what he wrote and who he was writing to. He knew how to get his message across. One of the great communicators of our time, of the 20th century. He set an example for us how to invite people in. And by the way, speaking about how to invite people in, Gina, all my friends are listening because I texted them the whole link to this. So they're listening to the show.
Well, that's good. Hello, friends.
Well, by the way, we should all do that. Hey, Jen, can I pivot? I know we only have about a minute and 30 seconds before we come forward, but given that John Lesiotis was in the advertising business and he understands targeting an audience, and given that you're in the algorithmic business for healthcare and you understand the significance of targeting an audience, Dr. King, without all the technology that we have today, was deliberately targeting an audience. Do you know anybody under age 40 today who's targeting the right-wing evangelical community with the kind of moral clarity that Martin Luther King Jr. brought forward in the Birmingham letter?
I don't. I mean, I didn't follow him very closely, but wasn't Charlie Kirk kind of a religious? Didn't he, talk about religion and Christianity?
Well, he should, while alive, should have been targeted, in my opinion. But I'm not aware of anyone who is making a moral appeal to them about the injustice that's taking place in our land.
Heavens, no.
Quite like Dr. King did under age 39 when he wrote this letter from a Birmingham jail. He's targeting this audience, John Diggles.
No. He is, and as you said, he didn't have the technology. I think a new generation of influencers is doing this. The words of Dr. King could get a lot more into that conversation, right? Because he did not have the technology. But I think the power of his letter and what makes it so timeless, again, is that setting and the sense of invitation, urgency that he pulled through. And I think so much of that is what got people involved.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Need Fridays. More with John Diggles, Gina Towns, and John Lesiotis when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost is calling gun violence a public health emergency and the leading killer of children.
Your life matters, and that's why we're introducing these bills. It's about mass shootings.
He's introduced 3 measures targeting the secondary gun market, including tracking purchase patterns, gun disposal, and illegal sales, saying the federal government must act to protect kids. New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin has filed a civil rights lawsuit against former Clark Mayor Sal Bonacorso of directing police to target Black residents and push them out of town. The complaint cites traffic stop data showing Black and Hispanic drivers were searched at higher rates. And the Air Jordan 11 Space Jam sneakers are making a comeback to mark the film's 30th anniversary. Worn by Michael Jordan during the 1995 NBA playoffs, the iconic shoes return December 12th with a retail price of $235. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Double trouble on the E60, first past Peck Road. It's a two-vehicle collision clearing from the center divider area. You're backed up to Atlantic Boulevard. Up ahead in the Brea Canyon, 60 eastbound past the 57. The two big rig accidents clearing off the right-hand shoulder. And you have reduced speeds approaching Diamond Bar starting at Fairway Drive. 134 eastbound at Forest Lawn Drive. A three-vehicle accidents clearing from the left-hand lane. And you have reduced speeds from Bob Hope Drive.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Rams head to Chicago for their playoff game Sunday against the Bears, they're going to need some extra long johns and whatever else it takes to keep warm. The Rams might have to start a small bonfire on the sidelines. By the time the game kicks off at 5:30 Chicago time, it'll be 19 degrees with a wind chill factor of 5 above. Both of those numbers are expected to drop throughout the game. The Rams are a 4.5-point favorite, but the weather could change those odds. If the Rams beat the Bears and the 49ers beat Seattle tomorrow, the Rams would be home next Sunday for the NFC Championship. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix. Out of bounds and prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially Black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my Black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP. Worried about unpredictable utility bills this winter? LADWP's Level Pay makes budgeting a breeze. With Level Pay, you'll receive a monthly bill that stays the same. No surprises. Even past due amounts can be rolled in, and you'll skip those seasonal spikes from heating your home. Sign up today at LADWP.com/levelpay. That's LADWP.com/levelpay or call 1-800-DIAL-DWP and take control of your bill.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are commemorating, celebrating, thinking, and reflecting on the 97th birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. That's the period from January 15th to the third Monday in the month, celebrated as a federal holiday. Our very special guests on Fat Meat Fridays, our regular contributor every Friday is none other than the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to the show.
Hi, Jesse Jackson Jr., and happy Friday. Thank God it is. We've got a lot going on in the midst of our King celebration.
Yes, we do.
This week. And I can take them, if you don't mind, can
Please.
I take a moment?
I was going to introduce our two guests again. You can do it.
No, I want to just give a shout out to the members. I did not forget, but the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Those of us from Delta Sigma Theta wish you a happy Founders Day. And I also didn't want to do it on the King holiday, so let me just
make that right. Yeah. Hey, all right. Our very special guest in this hour are John Lesiotis. John Lesiotis is a former account exec and officer of outdoor advertising and media targeting and campaign targeting, but also non-profit and for-profit targeting of individuals. And John Diggles is one of the nation's leading public relations professionals who's using artificial intelligence and logarithms for targeting messages. And what we have here is a message from Martin Luther King Jr. in the letter from a Birmingham jail, targeting evangelicals and those who are questioning why he's in Birmingham in the first place. Yeah. And I'm going to, this conversation has been largely inspired by John Lesiotis, and I'd like John to further dive deeper into why do you think Dr. King wanted to target this group that was criticizing him? I can only imagine on the outside, by the way, Gina, they were saying, I'm glad he's in jail. I'm glad he's there. And he took the opportunity while in jail to say, I really should not be here. But like Paul, if I have to suffer through this to get your attention, I will. John Lesiotis.
Well, I think he, from what I understand, he picked Birmingham because the Birmingham students from an African-American college down there had organized a boycott earlier and had been successful. It was a department store, and the department store lost a bunch of business. So I think he saw an opportunity, a soft spot perhaps in Birmingham to make his point. The reason I think he did it with regards to and I think it was maybe 7 or 8 ministers and a couple of rabbis in there as well. It was multi-denominational. Is in a way, I think he wanted to break the patriarchy that was, that's part of religion. I mean, it's male dominated, and there's a pecking order in it. And I think he saw that he had to kind of break through that to convince these people that they had to come along for the ride, that they couldn't wait any longer.
John, before I bring John Diggles in this, let me ask you one other follow-up question. He is careful in the language that he chooses in this letter.
Always. And
it's clear to me that he must have understood the historical significance of it, that we would be discussing it almost 50 years later. So he gave a considerable thought to the conversation with our reflection, our present reflection upon what he did then, so that we might arrive at a conclusion today. You're a media targeting expert, specialist. John, what is Dr. King telling us today from the letter from a Birmingham jail?
Well, I think there's so many messages in it. But I think most importantly, it's a call to action. It's a call for those moderates to finally grow a spine, for lack of better definition, and to take action and to get off the sidelines and do something. And it's not everyone doing the same thing, but it's everyone doing something. And I think that's what he's urging the moderates to do.
John Lesiotis?
Diggles.
I'm sorry, John Diggles. I'm sorry.
I think John hit it just right. And I've spent my career in communications. I love the power of language, right? One of my favorite things that Dr. King does in the letter is that he takes words and labels that were placed on him and on the civil rights movement, and he uses them to his advantage. Dr. King was seen as an extremist, and so many pastors could not be involved. And he reminded them that Jesus Christ was also viewed as an extremist. And that famous line of the letter that comes forth, and he says, "So then I ask you, shall we be an extremist for hate, or shall we be an extremist for love?"
Wow.
And he gave them that power, that permission for pastors to say to their congregations, to say, just as Christ had to stand and fight for love and for faith to start his church, so Reverend King also is this extremist for love to change us and invite us into the movement. It's a masterful use of language.
That permission, Gina. That permission, Reverend Towns.
No, I was going to say Reverend Diggles. If John decided to take a moment, I just got to tell you, the agency transforms into the church. I'm not mad at it because, if you think about it, the things that we do in our lives, sometimes we get really bogged down by a job, but if you have a career and you're doing something you love, it really does become ministry. And so the things that John just said are applicable across the board. But and thank you for that, John. You're going to either pick a side, I think is what he was getting at. And then, from the very beginning, he was like, usually I don't deal with the criticism that comes, but because this is the subject matter that we're talking about, it is love versus hate. And we all claim to be on the same page on that. He's also dealing with the hypocrisy, and so we are at a place where our hypocrisy, while it has been in the background a little bit because we've made some strides. I mean, that's how we're viewed, around the world to some extent in some of our dealings in abroad. But then when it comes to how people see the things that go on at home, they see that hypocrisy. And I love that Martin Luther King was like, I'm going to sit here right here in this jail cell, and I am going to deal with the issue of hypocrisy on what we say we believe. And there was no better place for me for it to have been done, because if you look at anybody who God used throughout the scripture, they spent some time in jail or solitude or something. He left them with their thoughts, that's for sure.
Mr. Diggles or Mr. Lesiotis, your response?
Well, she mentioned a key word, hypocrisy. And I would make the case that the country was kind of built on hypocrisy, Gina. Jesse, I mean, we've got a constitution that states that all men are created equal, but yet half the men that signed that constitution went home to slaves. So today we fight wars to bring peace. So a lot of people that are on the right wing right now claim to be Christians. So I think the idea of hypocrisy is kind of a common thread that's run through the history of this country.
Mr. Diggles?
It will always stand out for me, the themes of the letters here is that sense of invitation and how he taught pastors who read that and immersed his words to say, okay, if this how your congregation sees this, I'll work with the labels they have. I want you to redefine it. And that's what he did. And his letter challenged them, but it also did so as an invitation and with love. And that was the way I think he really changed the thinking. That's why that letter is so timeless. That's why so many of us should spend this weekend posting our favorite parts of it on social, We have to remind people of the power of those words.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, our very special guest, Mr. John Diggles and Mr. John Lesiotis. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Join Ignited Light at the 10th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, Saturday, January 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams Boulevard, west of Arlington. This service for humanity brings together community providers offering free food and clothing, medical screenings, legal, dental, academic, and career services, plus vaccinations, flu shots, HIV and STD testing, and blood pressure checks. All are welcome. That's January 17th at Holman United Methodist Church. For more information, go to adayon.org. That's adayon.org. Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community, educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caSMPvolunteer.org.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-237-8585. That's 800-237-8585. Again, that's 800-237-8585.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I must share with you before, as we enter this last segment of our show, first hour, that my mother received an amazing award from the city of Chicago today, presented to her by Brandon Johnson and by the city of Chicago for her more than 5-6 decades of activism and work here in the city, in the nation, and around the country. I'm particularly proud of that on this
Congratulations.
the Martin Luther King Jr. 97th birthday. I also want to share that Vice President Kamala Harris was the guest speaker of that at that particular event. And out of the kindness of her heart, at the end of the event, she came to my mother's apartment and spent a good hour, maybe an hour and a half, with my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. These pictures and these images all belong to my mother as she reflects upon the significance of my father's contribution. And to the extent that my father can talk, he did speak with Kamala Harris today. So there's your little breaking news. That Reverend Jackson in the last week has had Stevie Wonder come and visit, Kamala Harris come and visit. In the last month and a half, including Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton came and visited, and our family is extremely grateful. I have a question that I want to ask Gina of John Lesiotis and John Diggles, but let me start with John Diggles. If Dr. King were alive today, what would you ask him? John Diggles?
I would ask him about the hardest part of his journey and what he did or what he thought that got him through that. And I would just like to sit with that, because I do think that we might be surprised by that answer about where the hardest part was and what he did to get through it. I would ask him about his doubts about his life's mission and what he did to get through those. And I would ask him about any regrets that he had about certain things, about how things he might have learned about how to say something or deliver something that he might have gone back and changed. And again, to have that conversation would be a blessing. And Jesse, congratulations to your mom. Our ongoing prayers for your father, a special day for your family.
John, I appreciate that. You know, when I think about Dr. King, I feel like I am speaking to a 400-year-old sage. But he was assassinated at age 39. I want to pose the same question to John Lesiotis. John, what would you ask Dr. King today?
Well, I would ask him, I guess in his darkest hours, other than the Bible, are there people that he got inspiration from? Are there writers that he read to get inspiration to get through some of the tough times, especially in jail? So there had to have been someone that he really looked up to.
Gina just put Howard Thurman on you.
Howard Thurman.
There you go. There you go.
He had some meditations of the heart moment.
I believe today he'd be reading the work of Walter Fluker.
Yeah.
I think he'd be reading the work of Aubrey Hendricks. I think he'd be following Reverend Jackson, Reverend Sharpton. I think he'd be following, obviously, Andy Young and Reverend Barber. I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I agree with it. I remember you mentioned Mr. Thurman before, so I know he was a great inspiration for Dr. King. But I also did want to follow up with John Diggles and mention to you about your mother's award. That's terrific for her. And hopefully Donald Trump won't find out about the award and ask for it.
and ask him
to bring the award.
I want the City of Chicago award, the Jack Jackson guy. Wow, Gina.
Oh man, I had almost just a whole moment of slip off the show. So sliding down the side of a hill right there. But okay, so anyway, so John Diggles, that I thought your question was fascinating, and here's why. To know what King might have felt as fear or concern, I think makes him relatable to where we are right now. And because the issue of fear and the power that fear can have, if he said, you know what, yeah, I was scared sometimes, being in the Birmingham, let me say it again, Birmingham jail, you might not make it out if not for the president calling and for the pressure that it was to make sure that you were safe in the jail. There were plenty of people who did not make it out of some of the circumstances that they made, and even now with what we see going on in Minneapolis in a heightened level of interaction between ICE.
Gina, isn't there an amazing silence? Isn't there an amazing silence? The very silence and betrayal that Dr. King is talking about in Birmingham. Aren't we seeing that right now I know Father Flager's raising hell. I know certain ministers are raising hell, but are there enough ministers raising hell?
Is it time for a letter to be written? I mean, I have
From a Cook County jail?
Like, what is going on? And you do see, we don't want to ever take away from, what is being said and what is being done and people that are standing in the gap. But there's far too, and this is what King is addressing, there are far too many people who are not saying anything about what we're seeing in Minneapolis.
Gina, can I give a word of hope to ask our two guests in this hour? Because I do know that we're moving forward in just a moment. Maybe 2 minutes for John Lesiotis, followed by 2 minutes from John Diggles. Mr. Lesiotis, a word of hope on this, the 97th birthday of Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, I do think that there's reason to be hopeful here, Jesse, because I'm convinced in my heart that there are more good people out there than otherwise. And as a personal note, I've got two friends up in Minneapolis. My wife was just up there on business recently, and she was explaining to me that the community is really pulling together. The white community is pulling together up there. Two of her friends are shopping for some Hispanic neighbors and are shuttling their kids back and forth to school. And I see a lot of resistance here in Chicago. And I really do think that this is the issue that's going to push a lot of moderates to take some action. So I do hold out optimism and hope. And I think especially with Dr. King's birthday coming up, a lot of people are going to start reflecting and understanding that we can't sit by and wait for someone else to do something.
I appreciate that, Mr. Lesiotis. Boy, you've just given me a bunch of ideas. The idea that we should be helping our Latino brothers and sisters and their children get to and from school and not exposing their parents to the plague that is troubling all of our communities. Mr. Diggles.
I think the message of hope is right there at the end of Dr. King's letter when he shows the pastors and he talks about the nonviolent protesters who are there, who've done this entire time, who have stood up, and he says specifically for their sublime courage, for their willingness to suffer, and their amazing discipline in the midst of great provocation. That sentence, those words fit so well for today, right now, what's happening in Minneapolis and across the country. It is a reminder of what took place in that journey and what the discipline and commitment it took to bring forth meaningful change. I'll be spending some time, and I'm going to read that ending a couple of times. I hope everyone does as well. There's incredible hope there because we remember where we came from, those words and phrases.
Gina, about 45 seconds remains in our program. A word of hope.
Well, I do like the graphic. Never give up. Never give up our dignity, our faith, and our ability to dream of a world rid of color lines and a world that is better than the one that we left behind, that was left to us. And so there will be trials, there will be tribulations, but we are reaching for brotherhood. And what that takes is for us to be fearless and to stay awake and to seek after the knowledge that is Martin Luther King. So that's what I've got for you.
Grateful for your presence on our show, John Lesiotis.
Thank you, Jesse. Love you.
You know, you're always welcome, and I love you too. And there's nothing you can do about it. I got that from Tavis. Thank you for being on our show, Mr. Diggles.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you.
And there's nothing you can do about it either. We love you. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Been listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. show on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. More with Gina Towns when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says there's no need right now to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota as protests continue in Minneapolis over the ICE shooting of Renee Good.
If I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it.
The authority to deploy the military is available if needed, but not at this time. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says residents took nearly 13 million trips on shared bikes and scooters in 2025, the highest total on record. That's nearly 2 million more trips than the year before, reflecting growing demand for affordable transportation and expanded bike infrastructure. And a judge has dismissed rapper Jay-Z's paternity case with Ramir Satterthwaite, ending the long legal fight. The court ruled the case had no legal merit and ordered Satterthwaite to pay about $120,000 in legal fees, bringing the years-long dispute to a close. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Couple of things in South LA. First, on the South 110 before Florence Avenue, it's a two-vehicle accident on the right shoulder, but you're backed up leaving the USC area starting at Exposition Boulevard. 110 northbound before Gage Avenue, a vehicle fire erupted. Everything over on the right-hand shoulder, but that's causing a backup to the 105. And on the 605 northbound past the 60 in the City of Industries, a crash blocking the carpool and two left-hand lanes. Expect delays.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Rams head to Chicago for their playoff game Sunday against the Bears, they're going to need some extra long johns and whatever else it takes to keep warm. The Rams might have to start a small bonfire on the sidelines. By the time the game kicks off at 5:30 Chicago time, it'll be 19 degrees with a wind chill factor of 5 above. Both of those numbers are expected to drop throughout the game. The Rams are a 4.5-point favorite, but the weather could change those odds. If the Rams beat the Bears and the 49ers beat Seattle tomorrow, the Rams would be home next Sunday for the NFC Championship. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix, out of bounds and prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter, the controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. 1080, download the app.
1580, download the app. I just can't hit that note. Come talk with me.
You know. Yeah.
Oh, wrong for that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I was just sharing with our producer that I can't hit that note, but if I could, I would sing it. Come talk with me. I can't get that. I can't do it. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than a man who has 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom, but both feet in reality. His contribution on Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show is the turning point of our week, because we rely upon the thoughtful thinking of none other than Dr. Reverend PhD. This ain't no honorary degree. This is the real deal. This man wrote a thesis.
Esquire.
Yeah, all of that. Reverend Todd Yeary is our very special guest on this Fat Meat Friday. Reverend Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You know I love Fatback Friday. That's all I
It's fat meat, not fat back.
For those of you who did not see the screen, it says you found fat meat for Friday.
Hey, Todd, let me ask you a question.
Isn't fat back fat meat?
No,
Well,
no,
it
fat
can
meat's
be.
greasy.
Oh, okay.
I mean, fat meat's greasy, but fat back is all greasy. Ain't no meat on it. Anyway.
True that.
Anyway, hey, listen, the probative nature, probing, digging deeper, cross-examining, interrogating, reflecting, questioning, nature of what Martin Luther King Jr., from your perspective, is trying to achieve on April 4th, 1967, in this speech at the Riverside Church, Beyond Vietnam, a moment to break silence. Dr. Yuri, our entire hour is yours.
So that's what we're doing. I get invited
Yeah, that's
back.
what we're doing. No, you can say that. I thought you could just... See, we don't have a pre-show before the show necessarily. Gina kind of gives us the feedback. But when we ask Dr. Yuri, and I'm giving him this moment right now to have a cup of coffee, have a sip of whatever you need to have a sip of.
Yeah.
Line up that thought. We're giving you this moment. Right, G? We're giving him that moment, right?
I am not going to talk about Ty. Ty was gracious enough. He was not with us on Wednesday because he was flying, and I said, "Listen, that little pep talk you gave us right at the end, right there, that little sparkle, that little angel dust you dropped in. Come on back on Friday and let's talk about it." So, thank you, Ty, for being here.
However you want to present yourself, we're more than willing to receive the blessing that we know you offer. Dr. Yuri.
In a few days, we will honor the observed holiday in honor of Dr. King. The last year of his life kind of starts with this speech at Riverside Church. And he is pulling the lens back to make sure that our definition of justice is not so narrow until we miss the broader sense of moral compass and theological discourse to include the ever-expanding military-industrial complex. And so I think his thoughts kind of focus us on the economics of war and the fact that much of the suffering that has been imposed on the human condition has been the byproduct of war and the byproduct of the militarizing of everything from local police forces to raising the specter of the nuclearization that would lead to the total annihilation of humankind. And so I think he was giving us a foreshadow of what we needed to focus on in the near future.
You know what I find interesting, Dr. Yuri, is that when I think in this moment about what you just said, that of the hundreds of millions of speeches and orations, billions maybe, since the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, that in this life and ministry and in this work of Dr. King, he ties his work in his readings, in his scholarship, in his thinking, in the language that he chooses, in the English language, he ties his work to infinity. He ties it to it in a way that we have to reflect upon it every single day. That it doesn't just end because he said this here. We are forced to go back and look one more time at what he said, and we find something new every time we read it, because he gave some consideration to 60 years in the future. He gave some consideration to centuries from now. He gave some consideration to the what I say in the present actually matters to our understanding of where this nation is going. And I think beyond Vietnam, maybe 4 or 5 times, because I will be speaking about it on Sunday and Monday, he mentions Venezuela. Dr. Yeary.
Some folk get inspiration, other folks get revelation. The true meaning of a prophet is to be able to give us a glimpse into a future that is not yet realized, with a sense of responsibility and warning that we not get so self-consumed as to miss the instruction. Dr. King was certainly expanding our understanding and the awareness of the globe itself, where there's a significant narrowing going on in real time, and at the same time, making sure that we understand that the oppression that is felt in one part of the world extends to other parts of the world almost simultaneously. And a lot of that is the economic policy of the world's superpowers to the exclusion of and in the service of the oppression of everybody else.
It's Fat Back and Fat Meat Fridays on with Gina Towns, and our very special guest is Dr. S. Todd Yeary. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
And with Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Refresh your bathroom with big savings at Lowe's. Reimagine your bathroom with up to 40% off select faucets during our Bath Savings event. Need it today? Order by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Shop for your bathroom refresh at Lowe's. We help, you save. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Same-day delivery on eligible in-stock items, subject to availability. Fees vary. Visit Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for full terms.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. King Volley drops the beat.
Hey, it's the J Lunch Club on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. So grateful to have our very special creator, Gina Towns, is our very special creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and none other than our Wednesday regular contributor on Wealthy Wednesdays, Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Gina, welcome forward to your show.
Well, thank you, Jesse. And I am excited that it is the King weekend. That there's actually, it's been just kind of a celebratory week. And, you know, I have been encouraged that people have still felt like they could celebrate because certainly there is a lot to be concerned about. The news continues to be what it is daily. But, you know, I think it's very important. And Reverend Yeary, you know that there's a time for everything under the sun. And so we thank you for being here as well. I do have a clip from Beyond Venezuela, and then we'll have you unmute.
That's the speech I'm preaching.
Right. He's got the Beyond Venezuela going on this weekend. And so maybe we'll even have a clip of that coming next week. But at any rate, we'll have you unmute when you come back and give us some thoughts on it. If we can go with that clip.
I found myself in full accord when I read its opening lines. A time comes when silence is betrayal. That time has come for us in relation to Vietnam.
Okay, so
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're having a technical difficulty with our clip. But let me ask Reverend Dr. Yeary, if he doesn't mind. Dr. King, as we were sharing on the outskirts of the program, gave some consideration to the idea of infinity in his thinking.
Yeah. The constraints that are placed on the willingness of persons in power to think creatively about how to use that power to the benefit of all humanity was deeply troubling to Dr. King. I guess it's been several days now since I saw an interview between Jake Tapper at CNN and Stephen Miller. I guess the number two in the policy advisement space, but number one in coming up with some of the most curious and spurious foolishness to come out of this administration. And basically, Stephen Miller challenged Jake Tapper to say that he was naive, that since the beginning of history, government, relationships between government have been framed and shaped by power and force. And so he was basically making the case for what we see happening not only in Venezuela, but in and on the streets of Minneapolis, and quite possibly coming to a city near you. And so this infinity focus of Dr. King was to challenge us not to think so narrowly about the impact and the reach of the fight for social justice, because a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
You know, Dr. Yeary, when I wrote the book, The Finger of God, which is available at Amazon.com, and I haven't shared with everyone that, nor have I done a show on it, but I want to be clear. The purpose of this book, and the reason I wrote this book, is because I have given some consideration to infinity. I need for all of our leaders, if you want to talk to me or convince me of this or that, I need to know that you've given some thought to an eternal message. That you ain't just speaking in the moment, moving a crowd, got something to say. do what you do. Flying through the pulpit or flying through the church tied to a cable or something. Smoke, mirrors. No. I need to know that beyond the magic tricks that you're trying to perform for your congregation or for our people and call it legitimate leadership, that you've given some thought without trapezes and cables hauling you from the balcony to the pulpit and folk disconnecting you and your suit specifically made to fit your harness so you can fly through the air. I need to know that you've given some thought to the idea that what you say this Sunday is going to be as true 500 Sundays from now as it is in the present moment. For me, that matters. And it's clear to me, Dr. Erie, that Dr. King gave some thought to the eternal nature of almost everything that he wrote.
Dr. King was very thoughtful when he considered the role of faith expression in the cause and the call for the liberation of people. And so he was constantly learning not only about Christianity, but he was always having conversations with folks from other perspectives. He studied Gandhi deeply. He spent a lot of time with and in conversation with Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who informed a good deal of his thought. And I think the reason he did that is he understood that no matter which perspective you might take, there's always a period in someone's history where they find themselves as the oppressed, not just the oppressor. And as we have seen, one of the things that Dr. King kept pointing out, you mentioned the speech about Vietnam. Before he did the speech in New York at Riverside Church that April, he had done another speech in February of that year in Los Angeles. The casualties of the war in Vietnam. He mentions 5 casualties. 1 was the Charter of the United Nations. 2 was the principle of self-determination. The 3rd was the Great Society, this notion of building the beloved community and focusing on those things that affect the conditions of people. But the 4th and the 5th are really, really critical. The 4th casualty of the war in Vietnam, he said, is the humility of our nation. Said that he had to admit that our power, the nation's power, United States power, has made the nation arrogant. When we consider that, he said it's that arrogance that causes us to lose sight. There are debates and battles about how we're going to address poverty, how we're going to make sure folks get health care. We can't seem to get a war powers resolution through because there's this arrogance, the picture of changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And then the 5th casualty is the one that we see happening every day on our television. The 5th casualty of the war in Vietnam is the principle of dissent. There's an intentional stifling of hearing the voices that come from people who are living on the margins, as if their voices do not matter. And as a matter of fact, their voices annoy the government to the degree that we could see something as horrific as the shooting of someone in broad daylight with no aid, no assistance, no attempt to remedy or mitigate the harm that they had caused. All of that craziness is this reality. And Dr. King was telling us, be careful. He was telling us this almost 60 years ago now. And here we are.
You know, Todd, let me share something with you. I read this speech 100 times. And people say I've read something 100 times all the time. I've been to the seminary. I'm 60 years old. I have struggled, and everyone on this station and on this show has heard me every Thursday have a conversation with Johnny Mack about the World House. We talk about militarism. We talk about materialism. We talk about racism. So we deal with the triple evils, but I read the speech in the last 72 hours, and I found something different that I had not heard in the 100 times from seminary to the present, 40 years, that I now understand. There are multiple pivots in this speech, multiple turning points in this speech. It's called Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break the Silence. You should Google it. You can find it. A Time to Break the Silence, Beyond Vietnam, April 4th, 1967, by Martin Luther King Jr. Let me tell you what I found yesterday, Todd, for the first time. I'm sorry, Reverend Urey. Let me share what I found. He said that as Americans, we are not taking ownership of the fact that our IRAs, our retirement, and our money, and how we really feel is tied to the exploitation of the people of Venezuela, of Guatemala, of South Africa. That we wake up every day hoping that the stock market itself does better. And for it to do better, American oil companies have to do well in Venezuela. And in this particular case, it comes at the expense of the peasants in 1968 of Vietnamese. In this particular case, Trump says, this oil is ours. We're going to fix it. American oil companies who contributed to my campaign, let's get ready to take what we're going to take from Venezuela, and we're going to help first America, the stock market, and then we're going to provide the people of Venezuela with a quality of life they've never had before. I've read the speech 100 times, but it's not until today, 72 hours, that I get it. That our values, the revolution in values that Dr. King is trying to tell us are thus. You may not want a Mexican to be your neighbor, but you do want avocado. You don't want a Venezuelan to live next to you, but you do want lower gas prices. You may think that a Nigerian comes from a shithole country, but you do want your car lubed. You don't want, or you want, strawberries and bananas from South America, but you don't want them to live next door to you. Dr. King is asking us to look at Wall Street and recognize that the revolution of values is that we are tied to the very system of exploitation because we want our IRAs and our stock and the stock market to do well for us today. And we don't give a damn about a peasant in Vietnam as long as we're doing better every day. And Dr. King in this speech, Reverend Urey, is slapping us upside our head. We've only got about a minute, but I promise you the remaining 20 minutes of this program is all yours.
With the minute that I've got, I'm going to mention a name that we can carry over into the next segment that I think informs how we have arrived here and we were not paying attention. After Donald Trump was elected in 2016, he made a key appointment to his cabinet. And that key appointment was troublesome then, but it's clearer to me now. And that's when he named Rex Tillerson to be the Secretary of State. He was a former Exxon oil executive to be the Secretary of State.
How about that? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm not going to close the show. I'm going to let Gina Towns do it. Gina, practice this.
Thank you so much. We are going to return. We're going to come forward after this break. And you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says there's no need right now to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota as protests continue in Minneapolis over the ICE shooting of Renee Good.
If I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it.
Trump adds the authority to deploy the military is available if needed, but not at this time. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says residents took nearly 13 million trips on shared bikes and scooters in 2025, the highest total on record. That's nearly 2 million more trips than the year before, reflecting growing demand for affordable transportation and expanded bike infrastructure. And a judge has dismissed rapper Jay-Z's paternity case with Ramir Satterthwaite, ending the long legal fight. The court ruled the case had no legal merit and ordered Satterthwaite to pay about $120,000 in legal fees, bringing the years-long dispute to a close. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Starting in West LA, 405 northbound before the 10, the Santa Monica Freeway. It's a stalled vehicle tying up the middle lane, and you have a backup to Manchester Boulevard. Traveling farther north on the 405 just before Nordhoff, you have a disabled vehicle here, and this one's blocking the left-hand lane. You're slow from the 101 Ventura Freeway. 5 southbound before Olive Avenue as you head through Burbank. It's an accident involving an overturned vehicle. All the activities in the center divider area.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When the Rams head to Chicago for their playoff game Sunday against the Bears, they're going to need some extra long johns and whatever else it takes to keep warm. The Rams might have to start a small bonfire on the sidelines. By the time the game kicks off at 5:30 Chicago time, it'll be 19 degrees with a wind chill factor of 5 above. Both of those numbers are expected to drop throughout the game. The Rams are a 4.5-point favorite, but the weather could change those odds. If the Rams beat the Bears and the 49ers beat Seattle tomorrow, the Rams would be home next Sunday for the NFC Championship. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix. Out of bounds and prime time. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You're welcome to join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter. The controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is the Central Standard Time, meeting the East Coast and the West Coast on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, our regular contributor and creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, as well as Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, both a PhD, a lawyer, 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom, both feet in reality. He is the pastor of the Douglas Memorial Church in Baltimore, Maryland. Gina, welcome forward to the show. And Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks, Jesse.
I like hanging out on Fatback Friday.
We appreciate you being here. Hey, Dr. Yeary, I did want to allow Gina to play this clip.
We're going to try the clip again.
I found myself in full accord when I read its opening lines. A time comes when silence is betrayal. That time has come for us in relation to Vietnam. The truth of these words is beyond doubt, but the mission to which they call us is a most difficult one. Even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom and in the surrounding world. Moreover, when the issues at hand seem as perplexing as they often do, in the case of this dreadful conflict, we are always on the verge of being mesmerized by uncertainty. But we must move on. Some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony, but we must speak. We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate to our limited vision, but we must speak. And we must rejoice as well, for surely this is the first time in our nation's history that a significant number of its religious leaders have chosen to move beyond the prophesying of smooth patriotism to the high grounds of a firm dissent based upon the mandates of conscience and the reading of history. Perhaps a new spirit is rising among us. If it is, let us trace its movements and pray that our own inner being may be sensitive to its guidance. For we are deeply in need of a new way beyond the darkness that seems so close around us. Over the past 2 years, as I have moved to break the betrayal of my own silences and to speak from the burnings of my own heart, as I have called for radical departures from the destruction of Vietnam, many persons have questioned me about the wisdom of my path. At the heart of their concerns, this query has often loomed large and loud. Why are you speaking about the war, Dr. King? Why are you joining the voices of dissent? Peace and civil rights don't mix, they say. Aren't you hurting the cause of your people, they ask. And when I hear them, though I often understand the source of their concern, I am nevertheless greatly saddened. For such questions mean that the inquirers have not really known me, my commitment or my calling. Indeed, their questions suggest that they do not know the world in which they live. In the light of such tragic misunderstanding, I deem it of signal importance to try to state clearly, and I trust concisely, why I believe that the path from Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, the church in Montgomery, Alabama, where I began my pastorate, leads clearly to this sanctuary tonight. I come to this platform tonight to make a passionate plea to my beloved nation. This speech is not addressed to Hanoi or to the National Liberation Front. It is not addressed to China or to Russia. Nor is it an attempt to overlook the ambiguity of the total situation and the need for a collective solution to the tragedy of Vietnam. Neither is it an attempt to make North Vietnam or the National Liberation Front paragons of virtue, nor to overlook the role they must play in the successful resolution of the problem. While they both may have justifiable reasons to be suspicious of the good faith of the United States, life and history give eloquent testimony to the fact that conflicts are never resolved without trustful give and take on both sides. Tonight, however, I wish not to speak.
I've been up at every morning for the last week at 3 a.m. in the morning, reflecting upon this speech, playing it over and over and over again. I printed out the PDF version of this speech, and I have even more questions today than I had a year ago about what Dr. King is trying to tell us, Gina, at this hour. And here's my initial thought, because the speech continues, and he goes on specifically to talk about our revolution of values, Dr. Yuri. And then he says that our troops in Hanoi, our helicopters in Hanoi, the loss of life that we are experiencing in Hanoi is tied to our desire to have a quality of life in the United States that doesn't care very much for the peasants. We want rice. We want gravy on our rice. But we're not prepared to say that the rice paddies are in Vietnam. We want avocado on our salad, but we don't want no Mexican neighbors. We want lower gas prices. But get the Venezuelans out of here. Keep the Nigerians out of here. Dr. King is saying, until we are prepared to accept that our values, the very things that we desire and need every day to check the stock market, that it's tied to someone else's exploitation somewhere else in the world. Dr. Erie?
The next sentence, as the clip was ending, was where Dr. King says, I want to talk to my fellow Americans. So this has to be a family conversation at the table, because we have to reshape our understanding of how the world actually functions. You use the pronoun we. Every time I hear that pronoun, that plural pronoun, I start asking, well, who is we?
Todd, you know I got to go to a break right now. I promise you, please hold that thought. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits and a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays. Our regular contributor and host and creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show is none other than Gina Towns. Gina Towns is a Princeton Theological Seminary student with a Master's of Arts in Theology, and Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary is our very special guest from Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Yeary, Gina, welcome forward. Gina, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you, Reverend Dr. Yeary Esquire, for joining us on Fat Meat Friday. We missed you on Wednesday while you were traveling, and certainly we could not go through the King holiday without having your insight. You know, one thing that I wanted to comment on about this particular speech, it really kind of almost reminds me of a Palm Sunday-ish kind of message, you know, 1 year to the date that Dr. King would be assassinated. And he has chosen to step into something that he already knows is going to be a problem and that will draw the ire of many people, sometimes some people who would have sided with him and have supported him throughout the movement. But this particular issue was going to draw a lot of criticism, yet he chose to do it anyway. And I think about the fact of he is following in the footsteps as well of Jesus, who made the decision to go ahead and walk the road of the Via Dolorosa, knowing even from the point that he, you know, had to go raise Lazarus. He's like, I'm going to make the decision to do it. And he does it resolutely, unapologetically. And he tells people that if you are against me or criticize me in this moment, then you never really knew me. It reminds me of Jesus saying, away from me, you evildoer, you know, because people, well, when did I not give you something to drink? When did I not come and visit you in prison? This is away from me. You never knew me. And it is a very dramatic moment in the life of Dr. King when he draws this out and he sets the stage for the rest of this speech.
It's a big speech, but it's informed by a lot of intense personal introspection and wrestling. Dr. King was already despised, right? A prophet is not without honor except in his own home. His own community didn't trust him. This idyllic attitude about Dr. King posthumously is not where the world was in that last year of his life. He was the most hated Black man in the country. And that wasn't just from the oppressor class. This was even amongst his own folk. And from the very early days when he was at Dexter Church in Montgomery, the way he ends up leading the movement is because the other preachers who had tenure Felt like they had too much to lose.
Yeah, how about that?
Right? So this sense is Dr. King uses what we all have, but we don't always all use, and that's his voice. He's able to have a conversation wherever he is in the conversation to raise the awareness and the consciousness about the issues, the moral issues of the day that matter, and then frame them such that there is a sense of personal accountability. We have lost that in some degree, not because we can't find it, but because we've abandoned it. Because with it, remember, this is after, right? Dr. King's house has already been bombed. There's already been personal physical threats on his very life. And yet, what he does is not create some specter where he gives the Nobel Prize that he received in a frame to take it to the White House and present it, say, I want to give this to you, as if the symbolic meaning of being the awardee means nothing now. We just give it like it's some sort of trinket to whoever we choose, regardless of what their record is. I think it speaks to the moment that Dr. King's memory, but also his embodiment, the resonance of his voice in this moment, is bigger than the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, though that's still critical. But we cannot keep 1963 in isolation and leave 1967, 68 disconnected. They are part of the same struggle if we're going to be true to the prophetic mantle that the Spirit of the Lord God is in me and God has anointed me to use my voice to proclaim a change in the existential condition and reality of the people who find themselves amongst that class called the oppressed.
Man, you and Gina got me thinking, I need another hour. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I'm thinking Dr. King is gone. He is assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. And he's age 39. 39. Say it. 39. Man, old black preachers had a problem with this Nobel laureate. They had a problem with the clarity that Dr. King was bringing to the Gospels. White evangelical theology. Who is this dude, man? Who is this young cat on the stage with all of this thinking? Who, by what authority does he speak?
Sounds like the Sanhedrin.
I mean, Dr. King was at 39 years old, a young guy raising Cain, and he was a problem for everybody. Joseph Jackson and the Baptist Convention and the preachers. And then here he is writing letters to white evangelical preachers saying, of course I belong here. I mean, he is taking them through a seminary course and a theological exercise that black preachers who've been preaching the gospel for decades were not willing to do. I mean, he's challenging them. Then he's challenging the body politic. He's meeting with Kennedy. He's meeting with Johnson. He's meeting with Robert F. Kennedy. The press is focusing on him. But these brothers and sisters had a problem with this young guy who knew what to say and didn't need no notes, who knew the gospel better than they did and worked towards Paulinian application of the gospel. We only have about 2 minutes on this.
Listen.
On this show, but come on now.
Listen, somewhere along the line, we felt that it was safer and more expedient to make the gospel of Jesus Christ, Jesus who is the Christ, that gospel, a gimmick. When it's a gimmick. When Jesus engages Peter, who do people say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they go through that whole conversation. Some say you're one of the prophets, or he goes back. Well, who do you say that I am? Thou art the Christ. And then Jesus says something profound. You are Peter, and upon this rock, I will build not the church definitive article, but my church. See, every church is not the church that Jesus is speaking to. So everybody find the church where you're supposed to be and do what the Lord is calling you to do. so that you can help change the existential reality of people, even if your voice has to resonate after you're long gone.
Gina?
Well, it is the end of this hour. Todd, thank you so much for being here with us. We will continue to celebrate Dr. King when we come forward on Monday. And if you want to join us, please be welcome. But we certainly hope the rest of our audience will join us on Monday as we continue our celebration of Dr. King. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with